World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson and Teri Angel here for a meditation a day. Today we're going to be doing a silent meditation. That means we're going to go behind scenes. We're going to meditate together and listen to messages from Spirit. We invite you to meditate right along with us. Teri's going to play you some beautiful music, and then we'll come back on after we've received our messages and share them out with you. We're glad you're here. And Teri Angel, thank you for being here.
Good morning. Okay, I'll turn the music on.
Perfect. Friends, we'll see you shortly. Teri, can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can.
I can hear you.
That was a rabbit hole. We don't normally go down rabbit holes in our meditations, but that was an absolute rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was. And I think we're still down there. I think we're going to be there for a while.
Well, so it was interesting because immediately we were with Divine Mother walking along the Nile, and Teri and I will be in Egypt and we will be walking along the Nile. And it was interesting because Divine Mother has taught us so many lessons starting out walking along the Nile. So it felt kind of like coming home and kind of felt like in preparation of where we're going to be going. But what we noticed was as we were walking along the Nile, we could smell the dirt. We could feel the dirt. We were dirty and dusty. And um, Teri said, we're moving with a group of people. I mean, it's not individual here. This is a group. Well, then, of course, our minds went to Moses. And Teri, do you want to talk about Moses and the Red Sea?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, I think, because the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 days and 49, no, 40 years, sorry. Wrong story.
Yeah.
Moses was had a lot of 40s going on with what he did in his lifetime, but for 40 years they were without a home. They were just wandering and had to depend on just nature to be even be fed and where to get the water. So after the 40 years, Moses parted the Red Sea, and Ruth and I are going to be at the Red Sea, and we feel like it's very imperative for us to be there. So 40, as we went into this rabbit hole, we looked up a lot of things about 40, and it's throughout history in the Bible and in different history books that 40 is a very significant number. And even 40 breaks down numerologically to four. And one of the last things that I glanced at and saw was that it's usually the number four is usually associated with God's creation. He created the heavens, the earth, the sun, and the moon all on the fourth day. So there's something very significant about that number. And the fact that on that 41st day, something really big happens. And that's when I said to Ruth, are we in a 40 period of some sort? Whether that's physically 40 days or 40 years or whatever, or metaphorically, are we in that 40? So yeah, it's something that when we felt into it to begin with, we knew that it wasn't just individually we were experiencing it, it's a group experience. And we really went down that trail of, all right, what's going on, right? And what does this signify?
One of the things with 40 was periods of testing, transition, purification, signifying a complete cycle of transformation, new beginnings in the fulfillment of promises and purposes. And so then, and I just got goosebumps saying that. So, and that always tells me we're on the right track here. So then the question was, so what are people facing now? What are the challenges? What are the trials? What are the tribulations? And I personally have been looking into and struggling with AI and how that's impacting me. And so we started down that path talking about the algorithms and what I'm being fed in my algorithms versus what Teri is being fed in her algorithms. And there have been a couple key times that she has been fed by completely opposite information than I have. And then, of course, she and I meet in the middle, and it's like, wow, well, that's not what I'm hearing. So then we went into the, well, how are we being manipulated by what is being fed to us? Because people are making life choices based on what's being fed to them, where their neighbor is fed something completely differently. So then we kind of did the, well, who's benefiting by having this separation?
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just as Ruth explained, it's like we're seeing the world two different ways, but we're both in the same world. And we're hearing world events, but seeing different aspects of it. It's really, when you look at it, it's mind-boggling, and it makes you want to say, wait, let me off this merry-go-round, you know, let me step away and see what's really happening with my own eyes. Because I think that's the thing, Ruth. We're not seeing it with our own eyes. We're being fed
Right.
what we're supposed to see, according to some divine, not divine, but some plan that this is what you want to see right now.
Well, and
Yeah.
then we started thinking about how many hours people lose to being addicted to the dopamine hits
Hmm.
from what they're being fed on technology. And, I was saying people are crossing the street looking at their phone. They're not even looking at oncoming cars. Or, people turn to it as a means of, oh, I'm not alone. I can go to this restaurant. I can eat by myself because I'm on my phone. I'm not by myself. So we were talking about how folks are addicted to technology and how it has replaced human connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I started seeing it years ago when I would notice as I was out and about that babies were being handed a phone for entertainment, while maybe the parents were socializing or whatever. And here the baby's like, oh, cool, I've got something that's getting my attention, keeping my attention. So this has been happening for a while. This is not just a brand new, all of a sudden, oh, look at what our world is right now. It's been in the works.
Absolutely. Then we talked about how people are afraid of silence at this
Mhm.
point because there's always something talking at you. I mean, even when you go to the gas station, you can't even pump your gas in silence because now they've got these videos trying to entertain you. And, so who's afraid of us having silence and having our own thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big thought.
See, where else did we go, Terry? Oh, so then we went down the rabbit hole of what is the purpose of separating people? Who benefits when people are so separate in their thinking? Terry, you talked about a day of silence.
Hmm. Yeah, it was years ago, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. I just heard turn everything off, because I could see that addiction. I really could see how it's like, oh, let me get up and see who messaged me. Let me turn on the computer and go on social media and see what everybody's doing. So there was like this addictive thing that I was becoming aware of, and I heard just shut all that down for a day. That was one of the hardest things that I have done.
Mm,
When you're in that mode of I have to know, right? I have to be fed. I have to see what's happening, and then all of a sudden it's not there. Your brain is like, "What are you doing? What are you thinking?" And you reach for the phone or you go over to the computer, and I would say the first 2 hours were spent fighting that instinct to go pick up and go look. And it was like after the 2 hours, it was great
mm,
because I could actually meditate, I could write, I could read, but there was no technology for 24 hours. And it's hard. And I can imagine now it's even harder because it's more, you have the smart watches, you have everything that's grabbing your attention and overtaking your life. And that's really what it's doing. And we talked about that, about how we just feel like we've been uh, just grabbed and overtaken, and our brains are just not being utilized.
We talked about reprogramming and
Mhm.
how our brains, our thoughts, our mental capacity is being reprogrammed. And one of the pieces is about forgetting your memories.
Yeah. And we know from experience, if you don't bring those up, if you don't think about them, then it's harder to pull them up again. It's harder to remember what a parent sounded like if they're no longer in the physical, or your best friend, or phone numbers. That's the one, that's the one that's huge. It's like if you don't have your phone, if all of a sudden it's not working, or you've lost it, or whatever, what are you going to do?
Right.
If you don't have that number committed to memory that you can call somebody, yeah, it's like we're looking at something really interesting here because they've shown us all of this stuff to think about. And so what we get, we share with our audience. So we ask you to think about that. Where is this affecting you in your life? Where is it that you're seeing, oh, maybe I need to make a change? And that was one of the things that was brought out when Ruth and I were talking together. Where can I make a change? Right? And seeing our loved ones also all of a sudden say, hey, I think I need to change something here because this is taking up my whole life. And it'll take up your whole life if you allow it.
Mhm.
And then you miss out on really living. You're just existing.
You can lose amazing chunks of time. I mean, you
Hmm.
can lose hours at a time just mindlessly scrolling. And I think the important thing is being aware of the mindlessness.
Hmm.
That's where we lose our control,
Yeah.
the mindlessness. Well, and then I go into well, who benefits from having a mindless nation? Who benefits? Well,
Yeah.
then, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
There's lots of questions, and that's how we ended our time together. It's like, oh, this is one that's going to be ongoing, I think. Many times we do have meditations like that where we're like we don't want to stop, but we know with time or linear time we have to stick to a program. But yeah, just keep asking the questions. That's the important thing is we've lost that art of just asking and it's gotten so easy. Let's ask Siri, right? Let's ask Alexa. Let's get somebody to tell us the answer instead of us going and looking for the answer.
Right. When I started the meditation, the first words I heard was the strength is in being with people. And I was thinking, that's one things we can actually rely on. I mean,
Mhm.
you're to the point with AI, you don't know if the video that you're watching was created by the person that you think that you're watching. I mean, you don't know that. You can't trust it. You don't know. What you can believe in is when you are sitting face to face, actually talking to someone. Or, when you're in prayer or in meditation, you can trust that you're not being fed anything at that time. But the importance of actually spending time with people not connected on the phone or on the screen in some way or another. Well, then the question came to my mind, which was, so who is the Antichrist? I have been looking ever since I heard about the Antichrist when I was a young teen. What person is that who's going to come into our world and be so important and so amazing that we all get caught up in it and believe that this person is a good thing? And it hit me while we were talking, well, what if the Antichrist isn't a person? What if the Antichrist, and I was, tongue in cheek, is Siri? And Terry goes, or Alexa. And it's like, huh, this is interesting. What if we've been looking for something all this time and it snuck in the back door?
Mhm. Yeah, because I do remember when we first discovered Siri, it's like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, right? And that was the thought. It's so easy. We don't have to think anymore. We
Yeah.
just ask. And I do it. I I'm guilty. I do it a lot. Like if I want to know something, you just ask and you get the immediate answer instead of going to look it up yourself. And maybe that's a beginning point to stop relying on that immediate answer. It's like instant gratification. We're so into that. But look it up yourself. Go seek the answer.
Yeah. So, admittedly, we are down the rabbit hole,
Mm,
but wanted to share with you the questions and conversations that came up during the silent meditation, knowing full well this is not the end of it. I think
mm,
it's just the beginning of it.
mm.
But we were hearing loud and clear, have conversations with people, get off the screens, get outside, get into nature, and let's get back to some grassroots here.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
Terry,
love this one. This was a very interesting time together today and lots to think about. As Ruth said, we're going to be together, physically together, in not too long. I think it's like a couple of weeks now. We will be some of these places that we hear about, and they're so well known that big events happened in these places. And I think part of going down this rabbit hole is preparing us to see, okay, what are we supposed to learn while we're there together? And not from a video or asking a question of an AI thing of to get the answers. We're going to get answers while we're experiencing it in person. Yeah. So more personable experiences. That's a good thing for our world. So where can you do that? Where can you get out, be in nature, be with other people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you, Teri. All right, friends, thank you for being here at Enlightened World Network. So much love to each and every one of